you. Okay, so it is 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so welcome everyone to the Emerging Professionals Community Meeting. We are glad you are all here. Next slide, please. So, I'm gonna take you over a little overview of today. My name is Chelsea Mahaffey. I am your chair for the Emerging Professionals. We'll be joined by Lucy and Tommy, who will introduce themselves shortly. So this afternoon, we're gonna go over a few things. So here's our agenda for today. So a little housekeeping to start us off. Please keep yourself muted when you're not talking. Please keep yourself muted when you're not talking. It's a distraction to other people and takes away from the meeting. And please keep your video on if you can. It's great to see other people in this community so we can get a little face time, especially in this virtual age. This whole meeting will be recorded and shared widely so everyone else can see it who was not able to participate today. Can you go to the next slide, please, Tommy?
Yep.
And up for today, Tommy's going to take us through some association news, talking about some virtual workshops that we're going to be having. I'll be taking you through the Mentor-Mentee update, giving you a little overview of that. And then we have a great spotlight interview with 4 special guests today, and Lucy will be doing that. We're going to wrap up with some COVID chatter, just trying to figure out where you guys are, get a pulse on the organization, and then we will wrap up the hour with any burning desires. So you want to go on to the next slide?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for joining us, everyone. I just want to spotlight some events that are coming up. The association, we had a great turnout to the virtual conference, and we saw over 1,300 people attended, and it really got us thinking more about how do we increase the accessibility of some of our professional development offerings. So some of the things we're going to be sort of experimenting with and doing in the 2020 fall and early 2021 is some sort of like shorter micro webinars, which we're calling lunch and learns. We have some scheduled for the fall and winter. They're 30-minute talks, 20 minutes of content, 10 minutes of questions. Already have a few speakers scheduled for that, but I wanted to share that with everybody in this community. If there's a topic that you're really passionate about and you want to do a short 30-minute lunch and learn, let us know and we can try to get you scheduled for sometime in 2021. We also, just going to share what some of the other communities are doing. We have a sponsored webinar series, Bartlett webinar series with the Horticulture, Greenhouse and Facilities Group. And their first webinar is going to be October 8th. We also have our first virtual symposium coming up. It's the Development and Mentorship Symposium. And that's hopefully going to take place in late February, early March. I also want to mention we have an affinity partnership with Ecological Landscape Alliance. It's a focus on sustainability webinar series. So that's something that you all can attend for free. And if you're interested in giving a talk that has to do with sustainability, please reach out to me. Another great example of what a community is doing that's really increasing engagement is the education community is doing sort of monthly town halls. So every month they have a different topic that they're presenting on. A lot of them are geared towards this virtual engagement and educational programming. So I thought that was a good example in case this community is interested in doing something similar in the future, whether it's like a bi-monthly town hall or something for us to discuss later. And the way you can find a lot of this stuff now is we finally sort of did a renovation on our website for events. So if you go to our professional development tab, you can go down to events and then you can find all these opportunities coming up, whether it's association hosted webinars or other external organizations that are doing webinars. It's all on that page now, which is, you can also filter and type in different things you might be looking for. I want to talk a little bit about just when you log in as a member of the association, should be getting to your unique dashboard that says welcome Tommy or welcome Chelsea, welcome Lucy. This is curated to specifically what you are subscribed to. Like if you're a part of like 5 different communities, that's what should be displayed. And that really impacts kind of what resources and things show up to your personal page. So you can join as many communities as you want, but that really does impact what you see on your dashboard, as well as your specialty pages. So the association, when we send out newsletters and things like that, it has to do with which of the 6 specialties you belong to. And you'll get a curated list of events and resources and things of that nature. So this is sort of just a reminder to keep that in mind. Maybe you feel like you want to add a couple more specialties, or maybe you're not getting the communications you want. Lastly, we know that COVID has been a really hard time for our industry. And I want to encourage everyone to, we have a lot of people that have been furloughed, or there's been a lot of staff turnover, and we are offering entry-level membership. If you're not currently affiliated with a member garden, you can, for $10, you can get a 3-year entry-level membership with us. That way you can join events and things like I was talking about earlier, events of that nature, and really stay in touch and network with your peers. You can find that on our membership tab of our website. So it's a really great benefit to being part of the association. We also have an Island scholarship for those that are in graduate school programs. So you're welcome to apply for that scholarship. Those are some key things I wanted to highlight for you guys today. I'm now going to hand it back over to Chelsea, I think, to give an update on the Mentor-Mentee program.
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. So I wanted to give you guys kind of a brief overview of what the Mentor-Mentee history is, and also where we are today. So in the summer of 2008, during the annual APGA conference, we brought to the annual meeting, what do you guys want to work on? And the resounding feedback that we got was that we need a way to connect with the new generations coming into the public garden world. So that's where the idea of the Mentor-Mentee Connection happens. Fast forward to summer 2018, we launched the Mentor-Mentee platform on the APGA website. And we thought it would be a great way to connect people within the industry, especially those that are new in the industry, specifically targeting students, grad students, and those in the entry-level positions, to connect them with other peers or mentors within the whole public garden community. So just a couple statistics that we found. We've had about 90 people sign up, and between that, about 44 mentors and 46 mentees. And I want to point out that there's only been about 3 students that have signed up for this. And we haven't even had anyone sign up since April. So out of all of that, and we've had 7 matched pairs as well. So if we're going to be honest with ourselves and actually look at the program, we think we can do a lot better, and we weren't necessarily happy with what the statistics are showing right now. So we started trying to get feedback from those that have joined the Mentor-Mentee Connection, and the resounding things that we kept hearing, unsure about who do you connect with who on the platform. Do I make the first move? Do they make the first move? We've also had a lot of people that say someone has reached out to me with very specific questions, but they haven't followed up with an actual mentorship relationship. And then a lot of reaching out, but no responses. And lastly, one of the big things that we have acknowledged is there's a lot of very niche things in the public garden world. You could be working in the public garden in the IT section, and there might not be a mentor available right now. So, so these are some of the feedback that we've been getting over the past couple months about the platform. Next slide, please. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of mentorship, so we could kind of figure out, just talk about why this is great for our public gardening world. So a lot of this is gaining new insight. I found specifically through my mentors, they have traveled a very interesting path to get to where they are, whether they be a head horticulturalist, a director of horticulture, or a CEO. Learning from their journey has allowed me to gain new insights in what they have done. And it's also a great time to join this platform because it is a virtual world right now. Not everything is open, and what better way to expand your network than to connect virtually in these times. And then lastly is the career guidance, especially those emerging professionals like our community. A lot of us come into the public gardening world for a specific reason. I ended up in horticulture, but some people start out in horticulture and realize their passion might be in education. So this platform allows us to think outside the box of what our career could be and how we can learn from other people in the public gardening world. Next slide, please. So where do we want to go from here? So we've talked a little bit about how the feedback that we are getting isn't necessarily what we want. We haven't got as many pairs as we would like to see, and we have a lot of people signed up, but it doesn't seem like we're getting any traction. So we would like to see some increased usage of the platform so we can start getting more matches, especially diversifying the types of careers that we have on there so we can connect more people. We also want to increase the feedback from users. And of course, this is just to make the platform better, easier to use, and hopefully continue to keep people in the public garden industry. We also want to collect data from the current matches. So that means actually staying on top of who's matching with who, and has it been successful, and how did they make it successful, which we will talk about shortly. And then quarterly check-ins. Some of the feedback that we got was, I never responded. And with everyone being so busy nowadays, sometimes you do need a small nudge to be like, ah, that's right, I did have a potential mentee connect with me. I need to go back and reach out to them one more time. And I think we're going to hand it over to Lucy next.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I wanted to just give a introduction and a thank you to everyone who's joined this meeting today, because usually we would have this meeting in person at the annual conference and we might get a handful of people, but we'd be stuck in a hotel conference room, and now you're stuck at home, so maybe that's better. But I'm Lucy Dinsmore, and 4 great horticulturists agreed to join this meeting today, and I just want to introduce them and then we'll move into some questions. So Cindy Newlander, the Associate Director of Horticulture at the Denver Botanic Gardens, is here, and with her mentee Sandra Rigotti-Santos, the Plant Records Coordinator at Naples Botanic Garden. We also have Ari Novy, the President and CEO of San Diego Botanic Garden, and he's joined by Sierra Laverty, the Assistant Horticulture Director at Idaho Botanic Garden. So thank you all for taking time out of your day to join us today, and we'll get into some questions. So I think Tommy's gonna unmute those of you who are unmuted. And so we're talking about mentorship, and I just want to start off with the first question: why is mentorship even important? So maybe Ari, you can start us off with, why is mentorship important to you?
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me here, and thanks for running this program. You know, I think there's probably nothing more important than mentorship, you know, especially in fields like ours, you know, where so much of the knowledge is not textbook knowledge. I mean, there's some great textbooks and books out there, but, you know, so much of what we do is really kind of in that tradition of you know, sort of tasks that are kind of almost more about apprenticeship and things like that. And there's just nothing, you know, like passing knowledge on from one generation to the next. For me, I'm very highly motivated to, you know, be involved in mentorship programs because I've been fortunate. I think, you know, any success that I've had is in large part due to having had excellent mentors at many, many different stages in my career. So going back to when I was a horticulturist, I knew next to nothing, and I can point out to literally dozens of people, and several put out very strongly and took a real interest in me and my professional development, and really helped me not only learn specific job skills, when I was doing them, but also, helped me understand, what is this industry? What are opportunities? I wasn't aware of things like public horticulture, early in my career, and it took really, great mentors to help me be even aware of what those options were. So I just think it's really important. I had a particularly wonderful mentor at one point in my life, and I kind of said to him, "Is there any way I can repay you?" And he said, "Yeah, the way you repay me is by doing this for somebody else when the time comes in the future," right? And so that's always stuck with me, that the pay it forward kind of concept. But I also want to be, really clear. It's not a one-way relationship. I mean, especially if you find your way up into management in gardens, if that's something you're interested in, the sort of negative side of that coin is that you spend so much less time out on the front line, the things that you most want to do, whether it's being an educator or being a horticulturist or, whatever it is that you do in the garden. And so, I'm super dependent on people telling me what's going on in the world of horticulture. And, Sierra and other people who I've mentored, have probably taught me much more than I've taught them. And I find it just a wonderful way to kind of understand, what, people in other parts of the industry, are thinking and feeling, and what's happening, what are the trends, and what's exciting and innovative.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for that. How about Sierra? How is it important to you?
Can you guys hear me okay? Sorry, Tuesdays are mow day, so we're a little loud over here. Okay, great. So a lot of the reasons that Ari noted are, like, shout right back to him. I think especially when you talked about not fully knowing all the different career pathways that are available to you, when you're just starting out in the industry. I've been in the public garden world for 4 years now, but when I first started, I really didn't understand all the different areas that you can go into, and I'm still discovering a lot of that, and have had a few conversations with her recently about that. But it also helps me stay connected with the bigger picture. I think you can get really caught in the details of day-to-day work, and when somebody sorry it's so loud, when somebody helps you see the bigger connection, it's very helpful. Here, I'll mute myself now.
Don't worry, we can't hear the mowing. It's all in your head. Cindy and Sandra, how about you?
I think from my perspective, early on in my career, when I just first started at Denver Botanic Gardens, that just knowing there were other people in plant records in other gardens, because when you've come into a position where you are the manager of a small department, but you're also very new to the profession, it was really helpful for me to be able to reach out to people like Boyce Tankersley at Chicago Botanic Gardens, and to be able to learn from people, other professionals within this very small and niche career field. So I feel now like that since I've been in this area of profession, in this area of our profession for nearing 2 decades now, that it was a great opportunity to be able to share some of that knowledge that I've been able to gain over the past 18 years with other people, like Sandra.
Well, I'm Sandra. In my case, I'm not part of the young group. I'm not new to the industry. I had some experience previously in the records keeping. So my goal was to find somebody that I could exchange experiences, ask questions. Hey, how do you do in your garden? Because I have some experience, but Naples Botanical Garden is a new garden, let's say 10 years old. So we are still improving our processes. And then I thought, well, this is a good opportunity to keep in contact with somebody. I'm not very good in participating in forums, but I love one-on-one contact. So I saw the opportunity as a good one, and here we are.
So it sounds like, Sandra, that you tried to find a mentor in Cindy. So what was the process like using the platform? Like, how did you go about doing it? And did you know you wanted to connect with Cindy, or how did you what was that process?
I knew that I want somebody in the records keeping field. So I narrowed down, I had to read. It wasn't very easy because it's alphabetical. I think I could use the tools of sorting out, but I read some bios there, some descriptions. I had about 3 candidates, and then I chose Cindy. And then was before the APGA conference, and I just went 2 times for the conference. Then we set the meeting, and we actually met there in Washington. So I knew, I was very focused. I knew what I had to look for. So I narrowed down by the field that I saw the mentors were offering.
That's good feedback for us as well, and how we can improve the platform, maybe with a sorting tool. And Sierra, how about you? What was the process like of finding a mentor?
Yeah, Ari and I had met actually previous to this and had been chatting a bit through the food and agriculture community. I became involved in that in 2016 or 17. So we had met previous to this, and then I saw this program come up. I saw Ari listed, and I thought that was a natural fit, given that we had already been connected that way. So I guess I'm maybe a little different than that, but because I had lucky enough to have met him in San Diego. So during the APGA conference there, and then since then, staying in touch with phone calls, and then also I had reached out to him, and he helped me set up a session at the APGA conference in Washington. So we've been able to stay connected through the mentorship program and in other ways.
So the process of reaching out, were either of you, Sandra or Sierra, intimidated by the process? And how, for Cindy and Ari, how was that receiving, I mean, maybe not a cold call since you had already known Sierra, but I think one of the things that people think about is, oh, I feel weird, just cold calling someone. Is my email going to get lost at the bottom of their email list? Like, how is this ever going to work? What's the point in trying? So I'm curious to know how it was for both pairs.
I think for me and Cindy, we use a lot of email, and then at that time at Washington, we called each other, and we had the chance to meet there. But I think the program lacked, I don't know if anything changed, maybe a set of what to expect, because I was kind of lost. What is next? I did this, what should I expect in this relationship? So I don't know if you would change anything. I didn't go back actually to check anything in the platform lately. But I think having a set of what to expect and maybe evaluation, at what point we decide, hey, we should move on something, I think we like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, just trying to make sure that I'm keeping up my end of the deal with Sandra and making sure I'm, being responsive to her, which I think that's probably been where I've mostly fallen down, I feel like, is maybe not seeing her emails or responding to them in a timely manner. So trying to be more attentive to that and being able to answer questions. And also I think, it has been a two-way street, because I've definitely learned some interesting things about the things that she's been working on at Naples Botanical Garden, as well. And it's really interesting to learn about the collection side in a tropical location versus where I am in a temperate location.
Always sunny in Florida.
It's snowing in Denver today.
For me, it was fairly easy to reach out to Ari, you know, considering we had established that connection. And but at the same time, you had just taken on this role with the San Diego Botanic Gardens. So I think we had a delayed start, I guess, and it's good so that you could get settled there, which was great. And then admittedly, I haven't been as good about reaching out to him. I know he's, you know, there for support, and I think some of that is, you know, in my own head, right, about not wanting to bug people that I know are busy, but at the same time, you know, you should just go for it. So that's, yeah, that nudge will not only, I think, be helpful for mentors, but also for mentees to work up the you know, the courage to reach out when they need it. So.
I'll just add that I think the process is pretty good. You know, Sierra and I were talking, you know, mainly just because we were connected through the food and agriculture community, because we're both interested in, you know, how we bring food issues and food plants into the garden. But I might not have known that she was interested in a more, you know, kind of comprehensive mentor-mentee relationship if it wasn't for the program. I mean, I remember just getting an email, you know, when the program was established, saying, if you're interested in participating in this, just, you know, sign on. And I signed on, you know, not really thinking who or, you know, would or wouldn't be interested. And so even though Sierra and I were talking, and I think I have the story right, but Sierra can tell me if I'm wrong, you know, at least sort of seeing my name up there, just let you know that, you know, I'm happy to have a different kind of a relationship, or deeper or broader. So I think it's important to be able to sort of signal in that way. And then, you know, since that sort of, you know, matchmaking, you know, on the mentoring side of things, it's been, you know, we were pretty good at the beginning. I mean, I was in the middle of a transition between institutions, sort of right when it happened. And Sierra was great about just understanding that I needed a month or two to settle in the new job. But yeah, we, you know, in my life, if I kind of don't get something on my calendar, you know, for whatever 3 months from now, then very little happens. So we've been pretty good, and I'd say until pretty recently, about just making sure that there's always a half-hour phone call or something like that on the schedule for, you know, a couple of months out, and just to know that there's a touch point. And then of course the lines of communication are all open. And in terms of sort of that question of, you know, sending somebody emails and them not responding, or, you know, cold calls, I think, you know, I think most people, you know, and you know, certainly even most executives are really open to this kind of stuff. The hard thing is people are just really, really busy. And, you know, if you don't get an email back, it doesn't necessarily, I know it's you know, we're all really trying to be better, and, you know, everyone's trying to acknowledge and see everybody. But, you know, sometimes, you know, there are just a lot of people whose, you know, email volume is just so high that, you know, it's impossible to get everybody. And so there's really nothing wrong with perseverance, right? I kind of, you know, for me, it was easy because I learned that in grad school. I mean, you know, when I was a grad student, you know, just that's the way it was. You wanted to get a hold of a professor, even if they were on your committee or your major advisor. You know, sometimes it took 5 or 10 emails or camping out in front of their, you know, their office. And, you know, it shouldn't be that way. But it sometimes is, and it's really not a reflection on, you know, that person's desire to spend time with you and work with you. It's just having a lot of balls in the air. And so, you know, and, you know, I would just encourage people to, you know, not be, you know, dissuaded, you know, just, you know, give it a shot, you know, reach out again, give a week. If somebody doesn't respond, email again. I mean, you know, our industry is full of just really nice, kind people. Everybody wants to help and wants to be a part of things. And sometimes it just takes a little persistence.
Yeah, thank you. And that brings me to my next question of how did you get into the specifics of, like, how regularly you talked, how regularly you met up, if ever in person, maybe through the conference, and also now in this, that everything's virtual, what does your relationship look like virtually? So both of the pairs can answer that.
Well, we keep email each other, Cynthia and I share also that I don't write as often as maybe I should. So it's not all on Cindy.
Yeah, I think that's been one challenge for me is having the APGA email box, contact info box, kind of be separate from my Outlook has made it also be kind of out of sight, out of mind. So occasionally I'm like, oh my gosh, I think Sandra wrote me and did I respond? And then I'm like, oh, I did not. And I feel bad. So yeah, I think feel free to nudge me, please.
Yeah, and I think Ari and I setting up a regular check-in is great. And like you said, like we had that going for a little while, fell away from that, this year. But it's also, I think mentorship is also outside of that direct communication and connection. It's also staying involved with the work that your mentors paved the way with. So, I mean, Ari, helped found the food and agriculture community. I'm still really involved in that, so it's still, there's more than just that, direct feedback and communication. There's also other ways to stay connected.
Yeah, I think these are informal relationships. I mean, they're not really formal relationships. I mean, you can make it a little bit more formal if you want to, but they're mostly informal. And so it's, like any other kind of, relationship, you're constantly checking, or not constantly, but when needed, you're checking in and redefining the parameters and, just being really honest and open about what you hope to get out of it and, respectful of the other person. And, honestly, it's really not that hard. It's like anything else in the world. If you're willing to communicate and take a little time and just be generous with the other person, it goes pretty well.
You're muted.
Muted. Thanks for sharing that. I think sometimes the program can seem a little intimidating, but like you said, it's a casual, it's just a matter of, making that first email. And so it looks like my portion of this meeting is wrapping up. So is there anything else that any of you wanted to share? And you're welcome to stay on for the rest of the meeting, but I wanted to keep everyone's time, keep that in mind.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
just thanks for running the program. I think it's really great that it's out there. And I think, even if you're not getting the numbers that you want yet, there are a lot of people sitting there going, we know this is out there, and finding their their way in and when they're ready. So I really applaud you all for putting all the work in to make this happen. It's really important. Thank you.
I have a suggestion. Maybe each garden should advertise among the staff because we have so many new gardeners. And I don't remember how I got the email, probably because I was looking for information in the APJ website. Was something that I was exploring. Then I signed up for the emails. But many of these new staff probably don't have contact to the APJ website, and they don't know about the communities and forums that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know that a lot of people at my own institution aren't aware of it. And so getting the interns involved on it is definitely something that we can do. And Chelsea or Tommy just put the link in our chat for the Mentor-Mentee sign up. So if you guys want to sign up there and spread the word. So thank you so much, Cindy and Sandra and Sierra and Ari, for sharing today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was really valuable.
So we are on to the open forum. I hope you guys got a lot out of that. I really have enjoyed my mentorships that I've had, and I hope you guys take advantage of the program. So while Tommy gets up this slide, We're just going to do an open forum. When we were planning this meeting, we wanted to make sure we left time for all of you guys to talk about whatever was on your mind, because I was just even thinking last night, just writing down notes for this, and just between COVID, civil rights movement, racial equity, racial equality, job losses, a whole new way of life, like there is a lot going on right now. And if we didn't provide a platform where we could actually stop and talk about these things, and I feel like I feel like the emerging professionals community has probably been hit very hard because we are probably the first ones in, frontline workers, so wearing masks, possibly job losses. There's so many things that are probably going on right now, so we want to make sure we had some time for you guys to talk and hopefully start a discussion. So the couple of the questions that we wanted to bring to your process or your thoughts, how has the virus impacted you? How can the association help you? And what else is on your mind? So we're going to go back to the Brady Bunch view so we can all stare at one person. But yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and tell us what's on your mind.
Well, in Naples Botanical Garden is summer now, and usually our attendance decreases during this hot time. But incredibly, because the public sees us as a safe place, the numbers of attendance, it's higher than the previous years. So people actually are enjoying coming to the garden. We had safety procedures as walking route, use of mask, and they see us as a very safe place to come. So our numbers increased compared to previous years.
I'm kind of curious who else has taken on like additional job responsibilities because they have smaller staff. Is anybody else in that boat?
Yeah.
Yeah, like most hands. Yep, that's what I figured.
Have you guys dealt with that? Because now you have more to do and less staff, and only, I'm assuming, 40 hours a week. You're not getting overtime, most likely. So how are you guys dealing with that?
I can say, at least at the Idaho Botanical Garden, our curator has stepped back into more of a horticulturist role. So we have, our curation program is pretty new anyways, but he's pretty much changed his job responsibilities. I have let a couple other things go to step in as a horticulturist in some areas. So yeah, we're just kind of shuffling things around and really like putting pause on some of the bigger picture things, which is sad, but necessary.
At least just pause.
This is Alan Summers. My name isn't up there, but I'm a designer, landscape architect. And we have several projects right now with public gardens. And one of the interesting ones is a new visitor center. And because of COVID, it's really made us step back and look at the visitor experience and look at how processing is going to work, how ticketing is going to work, what kind of space we're allocating for the entry plaza, and working with the architects on how the flow of the visitor goes through and the interaction with all the staff. So it's not changing things significantly, but it is giving us pause to think about alternatives for the institutions on how does ticketing even work. You know, and I'm sure all of you are dealing with time ticketing and virtual tickets. So, you know, with the influx of technology, how do people, so there's people who bought their tickets in advance, and then there's, you know, the visitors who just arrived. And looking at visitors who just arrived, you know, can we have ticketing in Windows or iPads or apps that, you know, people are outside, staff is outside providing tickets, and they just scan it, people can walk through. So that's very interesting from my point of view. And the other thing is projects that have been underway, you know, not being able to go and visit the gardens or make presentations to or workshops directly with staff and trustees and subcommittees. Projects are still happening, but it's very much a different, less desirable process, but it's still going through. You know, I'm sure like these meetings, this is relatively small and it's kind of nice we can all see each other, but there's always a delay and, you know, it's just much more exhausting. And when you're trying to get feedback, especially in a workshop format, it's hard because people talk on top of each other and audio cuts off. And so that's just, you know, from my perspective as an LA who works with botanical gardens, some of the hurdles that we're going through right now.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Alan. Yeah, I mean, adding to what you know, Chelsea brought up about some of these key questions, I'm sure, you know, a lot of you are part of this community for a reason. Maybe a few of you are students. Is there something that the association and we can do as your, you know, community leadership team? What can we do to kind of, is there something you're looking for that we can be doing more in this community to increase engagement and activity? You know, it's sort of interesting. One of the things that we tried to do when we quarterly survey who's signed up for the Mentor-Mentee program, and Chelsea touched on this a little bit, but it's a pretty mix of people in terms of where they are in their career trajectory. So we sort of assumed when we launched the program, like we were going to get some students and some really early career professionals, maybe like someone that's like year 1 or 2 at a garden. But what we ended up getting was a lot of directors and people like mid-career, somebody that's just become a director of a small garden that's looking for advice on how to run a garden. So it was a pretty wide variety. And so that sort of forced us to be like, what are the different things that we can be providing to our sort of diverse members of this community? Do any of you that are students or early on in their careers have any things you're looking for? Is anyone on this call in a undergraduate or graduate school program? I saw one hand.
I'm not a student. Hi, I'm Christian. I'm in my 3rd season at Chicago Botanic Garden, and I would consider myself like pre-mentorship, like in that sort of area, just because I feel it's so broad in front of me, right? I don't know exactly where to go, and so having like a one-on-one, I don't think I'm totally ready for. But if there were, I'm just imagining like a catalog of like there's so many different jobs, right? And just going to a website and reading the description is not always, you know, it's not enough, or it's not maybe an accurate depiction of what someone's day-to-day job is like. So I would find that really helpful if there was just like a broad range of in-depth descriptions of what people do and what really helped them get there, I guess, like what aspects of their education and previous training, I guess, are most valuable to them. Yeah.
I think that's a really great idea, especially like I just took, I'm a year in my position as a manager of gardens at a private estate, and I had no idea what that really meant when I was signing up for it. And it's interesting looking back on the year trajectory, like what responsibilities have grown and what got me there and what I've learned from the position. So I think it'd be great along those lines, being able to be like, what have you learned in this position too, to help people understand what your real day-to-day job is.
Yeah, and what best prepared you, I guess, too. Like, I can look at a job and be like, okay, but what is the best way for me to get there? I don't have a horticulture degree, so that's always a big question I have for people is, should I really go back and do that? Or, you know, what's your opinion?
Yeah, and I think it's sort of a misconception so far with this program that I think we've heard from 4 really great examples today, but it doesn't necessarily need to be this year-long commitment where you're talking 2 times a month, like that kind of relationship. But I've actually heard from a few people that were like, I was really interested in this garden and this position, and I wanted to learn how this person got where they got, like what kind of like lessons did they pass along to me. I'm interested in becoming a director of horticulture. Like, what does that entail? And just setting up like a phone call to talk with them. And I think a lot of our mentors or people that are part of this community, they're more than happy to share that experience. They want to help you out. They want to kind of explain, you know, how they got to where they got. They're very happy to do that. It doesn't necessarily need to be a very formal process where, you know, you're meeting on a regular basis. And, you know, so I just wanted to point that out because I think it's sort of something we're trying to emphasize in this program, is to, you know, just try to connect with some of your peers. And there's a reason that people have joined the program in this community.
I just wanted to say that I'm so happy I came today because I just reached out to someone through the Mentor-Mentee. So thanks for that. I can't just sit here and listen, so I have to be doing something at the same time. So I reached out to Eddie Dawson at Red Butte. I don't know how, Red Butte?
Cute, yeah.
Because I'm really interested in the Director of Information Technology role, and there's not many of them at Gardens, but it's like my dream to become one someday. So I don't know, I'm hoping that'll become something.
Yeah. And even if you're just setting up those conversations, just think of the doors that they're going to open between, like, I might not be the right person for this, but you need to talk to XYZ over at Naples Botanic Garden. So even if you're just setting up those conversations just as a start, I think that's exactly what we're here for as well.
I was just going to suggest that actually could be a really great social media series too that the association could do. It's the career dive. You know, if a director of horticulture somewhere wants to make a video and membership there, it could be about like how they got started in the industry. I would at least, I run an internship program, and it would be really helpful to have that kind of stuff on hand so that even if they don't want to contact people directly, at least they can still glean that information.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica. I'm with the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden. And I guess even before COVID, my whole horticulture department, which consists of the gardeners, the facilities folks, and then the nursery people, we had a big staff change. The director of the horticulture department retired. That was like 30 years of institutional knowledge there. The facilities person retired. My predecessor was here for 14 years, and all that information is in their brain. So I'm both professionally, my first time ever being a manager, I'm the nursery manager here, but then also we're kind of resetting the whole operations on all horticulture, basically. So it's a little bit of, I just like wanting resources and people that can guide me towards those resources, really, because everything from plant records to management to it's everything we're starting from scratch again.
That's a great idea. So I was just thinking, one of the things that we always struggle with on the discussion board on APGA, or on the emerging professionals in the APGA and the resources, is like, what do we put on there? So like suggestions like that is great. So then I can be like, right, someone's new into the role as a manager, what would be helpful for them? So as I'm going through and learning stuff, it'd be great that I can drop things in, or someone else can drop things in too. But also as a reminder to everyone that the discussion board is open, especially for like those type of questions too, being like, hey guys, I'm new in this role. Has anyone been in this situation, or is someone going through this right now? Because that's a great way to find people that are going through it as well, because everyone has been in that position where they're like, I have no idea what is happening right now, or at least I should say that. So yeah.
And just also, I barely started into public gardens since January, so I'm super new to everything.
Excellent.
I wonder if some of the things that Tommy talked about at the beginning of this, like the smaller little lunch and learns and little kind of mini webinars, you know, the more that we see each other's faces and they become familiar, like maybe people would be more willing to say like, oh, that Jessica, I saw her last time. I want to pick her brain because of X, Y, or Z. So without kind of like, not like any of us would be going to a happy hour together anyway, but just, you know, we're not meeting people. And I'm just thinking like the more we see each other's faces, maybe, you know, you could share information in the chats and then like a natural relationship could happen from there. And Christian, what you said about being pre-mentorship status, I think that's it's great. It's so funny because I think that's like, that just means like you're perfect for mentorship, because if you recognize that you're like starting to think and like, well, I don't really know what kind of relationship, that's like, I would just suggest reaching out. Like in college, people always told me just like cold call, you know, just cold call them and say, can we meet for coffee? And since none of us are meeting for coffee, or you can outside safely, it's just like the more you know, the rainbow, the more you know, and then the more connections you have, and yeah, just talk.
Yeah. Amanda, you actually, it's interesting that you said you reached out to Eddie Dawson because he was one of our early adopters of this process. He had a mentor of himself. He was interested in, he was in like the IT realm of public gardens, and he was wanting to make a big change. And he reached out to Barbara Faust, who is the director of the Smithsonian. And, you know, she really like guided him to sort of like transitioning to a different department. So that was a good example of a successful pairing. You know, that'll be a good person to reach out to, because he's actually like gone through this whole process.
Well, we're on the topic of mentorship. Does anyone have any feedback about the platform that you'd like to share while we're here? We got a few more minutes left before we close up. Okay. Well, I'm going to stay on here for a couple more minutes if anyone wants to chat off camera. So as we close, thank you again to all the mentors and mentees that came in. Sierra, Cindy, and Sandra, who are still here. It was wonderful to hear your experience. I got a lot of it, and I hope you all did too. And I think this has been a great meeting. I was very nervous that there was only going to be 7 of us when we came on the call, and I was so delighted to see so many new faces and so many faces in general. So thank you all for being here. We have recorded this, and we will post it on the discussion board. And feel free to use the discussion board. That's always open. Tommy's going to put up a slide right now with our email addresses, and you can always email us if you have questions about anything on the platform, or even just APGA in general. We're always happy to talk. Any closing thoughts or questions from anyone?
I wonder too if we would want to put up share all of your contact information from with yourselves. Tommy, would that be something that we could do, seeing who attended this meeting, and then email those people to say, here's contact info?
Yeah, I think that. We have, so this has recorded everybody that's attended this meeting, so we'll have their information stored, and so we can always follow up with everybody after.
Excellent.
I also, before we close, I do want to also mention that, you know, Chelsea, Lucy, and I are your chair, vice chair, and liaison for this community, but it doesn't really stop there in terms of we usually meet monthly or bi-monthly, but we're always happy to meet with others that are really interested in this community and want to be part of like a leadership team and discuss ideas, suggestions for something that you want to see or a talk that you want to give. So I do want to emphasize, please reach out to us. It also just helps us ensure long-term continuity of this community, is sort of making sure there's active members that are interested in, you know, possibly becoming a leader down the line themselves. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us, and you've got our emails, or just let us know if there's something that you want to see in the community that you're not seeing.
Excellent. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up with that. Thank you all for attending, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.